Right. So, in the previous session, we have discussed about Uipath, followed by what are the different features do we have, right? So, in context to the Uipath Studio, all that purpose. Today, we are going to discuss about Uipath Orchestrator because uh, Uipath Orchestrator is one of a web-based platform, majorly to manage as well as monitor or schedule the kind of software boards we are using. At the same time, the kind of processes we are managing in any enterprises. In that regard, today we want to know what are the different features that will be part of Uipath Orchestrator. Because when we are using Uipath Orchestrator, part of Uipath Studio, as I told you, to manage and monitor schedules, all that stuff, there are multiple features one should be knowing. Because let's say that you are a orchestrator, right? So if you are a role of an orchestrator, our major responsibility is to centralize all the software boards, at the same time monitoring across multiple boards and processes. This is what something being a role as an orchestrator one should be performed. So as part of this, first of all, we must be knowing about what are all the features that are involved in uh, RUI path orchestrator. The first one is called robot management. First one about robot management, which majorly useful for us to deploy at the same time monitor and as well as control the robots from any centralized dashboards, etc. Next one about queue management. This is the second one. Queue management majorly organize the kind of tasks in queues, and at the same time, if you want to enable any kind of software boards, so that if you want to pick any kind of items automatically for any kind of processing and all, queue management is something used. Next one about scheduling. Scheduling is also one of the feature I can say as far as Uipath Orchestrator is concerned. Majorly scheduling of boards. I mean to say software boards. Okay, using Uipath and all, we create some software boards and all. So using this software, scheduling the software board activities. At the same time, if you want to enable any kind of task based on the business requirements, everything will be done under the scheduling part. So when it comes to the role of a business analyst, whenever we are working on that, whatever the business requirements that are to be required to schedule, everything will be performed under this category. Next one is about asset management. Asset management is also one of the one, because whatever the storing of configuration settings, either it can be credentials or it can be paths for any of the boards, everything will be part of asset management. Next one about logging and monitoring. Logging and monitoring is also one of the one of the feature I can say. Means if you want to track any kind of software boards which are actively processing the logs, if you want to identify any kind of errors, or if you want to optimize any kind of performances and all, logging and monitoring is being used in this regard. Last but not least, which is called RBAC. This is what generally we call it as RBAC. RBAC is a role-based access control. In detail, we call it as role-based access control, which majorly useful for us to manage the kind of access, like about the kind of resources, at the same time assigning different permissions. Everything will be comes under RBAC, which is called role-based access control. So these are the features that are related and that are involved when we are managing UiPath Orchestrator, being an implementation team. Either this is related even for the role of a business analyst when we are managing, we must be knowing, because as a business analyst, we should know, okay, what are the different features that are required. Because when we are implementing a path orchestrator, you must be knowing about the detailed features and how this can be implemented. Everything you should know. From the functional side, from the BA perspective, I mean to say that this is all something. One is about robot management, as I told you, majorly focusing on deploying and monitoring all that stuff, controlling of robots. Queue management, managing and organizing the kind of tasks that we are performing. Next is scheduling. Scheduling majorly focusing on the activities based on the tasks as well as the kind of business requirements that we have gathered from the stakeholders. Next one about asset management, majorly focusing on securing the storing of configuration settings, credentials, paths for any kind of software boards. Next, logging and monitoring, majorly focusing on the kind of activity as well as the process logs to identify any kind of errors or optimizing any kind of performances. Everything comes under logging and monitoring. Last but not least, RBAC, as I told you, which is a role-based access control, which majorly manages the kind of access about the kind of resources and is assigning different permissions. This is more or less like an admin role kind of. So these are the features which are involved under our Uipath orchestrator. Being a business analyst, one should be knowledgeable with.